My smartphone begins to ring. Huh? Who's ringing me this time? I wonder if it's Jeffrey. Oh, no. It's just my mother. Better answer it, or she'll get worried. I pick up my smartphone and I answer the call. Hey Mum, what's up? I say to her, acting like I don't know what she wants. She's always calling me to talk about how annoying my dad can be. Ugh. I just felt like calling to see how you're doing. Your dad's actually been really nice and helpful lately. She says this excitedly, which I can't help but feel happy about. Oh, go on then, tell me about it. Those are the words I wish I didn't say to her. After 10 minutes of her trying to explain how my dad had actually gotten her a bottle of wine that she doesn't like and cooked her a meal that he left baking too long and the top layer got burnt to a crisp. Well, it's a thought that counts, right? Oh, Carly, I wish you could have been there. He was so romantic. I couldn't help but retch at this. The thought of my dad being romantic is just unthinkable. You see, my dad's actually quite the dirty tramp, and he's not particularly the most caring, considerate of men. I'm glad he's finally trying to make an effort though. I think my mum's just a bit too into it. Whatever. Have you met anyone yet, Carly? Those words often pierce me, since I haven't been in a relationship in so long. There just doesn't seem to be any decent men out there that can make me laugh. They're all just trying too hard to get into a girl's knickers, in my opinion. But this time, it's a different story. Jeffrey, the guy I met at the lake of Lost Out Trail. Ugh, my heart flutters when I think about him. Crap, I can't believe I just said that out loud to my mother of all people. I wish she didn't ask me. My word, Carly, you sound like you're in love. My mother obviously sounds a bit taken aback by what I had blurted out. She must think I'm some sort of lovesick puppy. Well, maybe I am. Just a little. You've got to tell me everything about him right now. Come on, please. My mum begs me to tell her about Jeffrey, so I do. I met him today up at Lost Out Lake. My mum interrupts me with, "You're still doing those lonely picnics?" That's just my mum's name for someone who has a picnic by themselves. She doesn't understand that I like it. Well, yeah. Anyway, he was awkward and goofy at first, but I offered him to join me since he seemed nice and was kinda cute. We got talking and it turns out we have a lot in common, so we hit it off super quick. I finally breathe after getting that out. Here comes the judgment, is what my inner voice is saying. But my mother just responds with, "And? Did you get his number or something?" Of course, my mum's a bit old school and thinks people just exchange numbers so quickly. But she's also right because that's exactly what we did. Yes, Mum, I got his number. We've already planned to meet up again and talk some more. It's a picnic date up at Lost Out Lake. I say this last part awkwardly. It's a bit embarrassing to admit that it's a date. Well, I think it's a date. Neither of us has called it a date to each other, but I'm pretty sure it's a date. Carly, I'm so happy for you, but I have to go. Your dad has a little something else planned for tonight. She giggles like she's a 12-year-old schoolgirl who just found out a guy likes her. Ew, I don't even want to know what that's supposed to mean. Your father sends his love. I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye. She exclaims before I can reply. She hangs up. Lovely. Days go by and I don't hear anything from Jeffrey. I decided to text him. No reply. I tried to call him and he never answered. Maybe he's just really busy. Maybe he's just worrying about what to say to me since we're going on a date on Friday. Or maybe he plans to stand me up. I really hope he responds to me soon. It comes up to Friday and still worried that Jeffrey is going to stand me up. I force myself to get ready, pack up my end of the picnic stuff, and head up to the lake at Lost Out Trail. It's not the best looking day, the sky is a bit cloudy and it's not as warm as it was last week. I just hope it doesn't rain. I arrived at the spot where we agreed to meet and I wait. I wait and I wait. I wait some more. An hour has passed by and I still haven't heard from or seen Jeffrey. I was stood up. Disheartened, I packed everything up. I went home, I got a bottle of red wine, and I had myself a bloody good cry. I really liked Jeffrey. He seemed like he was into me as well, but he ghosted me. It's so rude. I'm not exactly the best at holding my alcohol, so after a bottle of wine, I start leaving drunk voicemails on Jeffrey's phone. It's not my proudest moment, that's for sure. 10 minutes later, my phone began to ring. I saw that it was Jeffrey who was calling me, so I answered it. I wasn't sure if I was going to apologise profusely or shout at him. I answered it, and the man on the other end of the phone, it wasn't Jeffrey. Hello? The man sounded loud, large and proud, but his voice had a lot of curiosity to it. Hi, where's Jeffrey? Who are you? I say this with hesitance. Don't tell me that Jeffrey had a boyfriend he never told me about. Please tell me that this is his brother or friend or something of the sort. Well, I'm Detective Harold, working with the police. Regarding Jeffrey, I'd like to know where he is as well. My body was shot, but in my head all I could think was, oh no, Jeffrey's a murderer. He killed someone and the police are looking for him. Of course, this wasn't the case after what the policeman said. A couple of days ago, Jeffrey's workplace had reported him missing. He hasn't been to work at all this week, and it's not like him to be off for so long without a good reason, let alone a reason at all. We've already searched his house and we've managed to get his phone charged and unlocked so we can search through it and see if there are any clues as to what may have happened to him. If you could come down to the station to help us with our investigation, we would greatly appreciate it. I gave the man my information and had agreed to meet him tomorrow morning at 10 AM as I am currently a bit drunk. Knowing that the guy you were supposed to be going on a date with has gone missing is actually quite sobering information. I'm worried. The next day I woke up, full of anxiety and fear. What if they suspect me of kidnapping Jeffrey? I mean, that would be absolutely ridiculous, but stranger things have happened. Well, not to me, but in general. I get dressed, I brush the wine stains from my teeth, I make sure I have a croissant before I go. They might question me for hours after all. I've got to keep my strength up after all. This is going to be scary, depressing and stressful, I'm sure of it. I arrive at the station and let them know who I am and why I was there. After a few minutes of just waiting around, PC Harold comes out and greets me. Yep, he's a pretty stereotypical policeman. He's tall, he's a bit on the big bone, chubby side, he's bald, and he's got this thick and proud Yorkshire accent. Lovely. I bet he's gonna be really loud and horrible to me. Or so I thought. So, your name is Carly Sampson and you met Jeffrey Hussington last week while having a picnic. By yourself? By the Lost Out Lake Trail? Is this information correct? I confirm this to him. Good. I can see that you're not going to be a liar after admitting to something as sad as that. Great. He's a smart ass. I hate having to deal with their type. We've gone through his phone. All of his search history, messages, phone calls, even his voicemails. Oh dear. Now I feel like I'm going to panic. Those drunken voicemails I left him are embarrassing. He's into some strange stuff, but he doesn't seem like he's a cheater, liar, murderer, or the sort that would just disappear into thin air. We know you were supposed to meet him yesterday, but obviously he's been missing since before then. We have no leads, motives, and no answers. His mother is frantically worried. If you have any information, if there is anything he said to you that could possibly have anything to do with this disappearance, I really need you to tell me. I think, yet nothing came to mind, so I told him that Jeffrey never told me anything of the sort about him leaving or being involved with anyone who might want to harm him. He sighs and he tells me something that shocked me down to the bone. We went through his diary of his, and the last entry was from the night that you two had met. Are you sure he didn't say anything to you at all that could be a lead for us? At this moment, I feel like it's my fault that he went missing. He met me, and then a few hours later, he just disappeared into thin air. I'm sorry, but I've got absolutely no idea. I burst into tears. I'm afraid and worried. What if the first guy I have liked in years has been kidnapped, tortured, and killed for someone's sick and twisted amusement? The detective, Harold, tries to comfort me, telling me how he is sorry something like this has happened, telling me that they will try their hardest to find him, and he told me that if there's anything at all that I remember that may be of any importance to the case, to let him know. After this madness, I returned home. I texted my mother the basics of what had happened and asked her gently to just give me a few days to clear my head. I didn't want her calling me. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted a drink so stiff that muscle atrophy itself would be jealous of it. So I got out the vodka, ordered a pizza, and turned on some soppy romance anime. What have I devolved into? How can one man who I met once go missing and make me feel so devoid of life and happiness? I want to see him again. I cry. I eat my pizza, watch the show, and I cry. All at the same time. On occasion, I'd have a swig of vodka. The rest of the night is a blur. Morning is here, and I wake up. I can't tell if the sound I hear is a ringing in my ears or my smartphone. I groan, prop myself up, and check my phone. Turns out that it's just my ears were ringing. Now my head's pounding. I go back to sleep and try to sleep off the hangover. It doesn't really go to plan as I hear knocking coming from the door. However, I thought it was in my head, so I ignored the knocking. It got louder. I'm forced to get up and answer the door. I'm a mess, but there's no time to fix myself up. What if it's Jeffrey who's knocking on my door? I opened it to find Detective Harold standing in front of me in his full police gear. "Hello," he says. Why does he sound so joyous? "I've got some news for you, Miss Sampson." I invited him inside and warned him about the mess. He's surprisingly understanding of my situation and gives me time to take some painkillers and brush my hair. I even make him a cup of tea. So we have learned from Mr. Hossington's mother that her husband, Jeffrey's father, had also spontaneously gone missing when Jeffrey was just a child. Unfortunately, no one has ever seen Steve Hossington since. Now, this doesn't give us a lot, but it's the only lead that we have. We have found out that there is more than just a blood connection here. Now he sounds excited, as if he's going to tell me some great tale of detective work. "So, you remember that diary Jeffrey was writing in, right? Turns out that it was a memento of his father's. His father was a captain of the tree felling team who helped on creating Lost Out Trail back in 1999. As a reward for his efforts, a massive tree they felled was turned into these sort of trophies for people who worked on the project. That diary was actually an empty book that was made from that tree. Now, there were also reports of strange sounds and groups of school kids mucking about during the project. Now, this is just a far-fetched theory, but Perhaps those kids were the ones that kidnapped, killed and disposed of Jeffrey's father. I know it sounds even more mad, but it's possible. Those kids are the same ones who took Jeffrey. I contemplate this information. It sounds so stupid, it sounds fake, like something out of some half-baked murder mystery novel. I can't hear any more of this. I thank the man for the information and ask him to leave, as I need time to comprehend this new information. He leaves. I'm on my own again. That diary. That tree. Those are the thoughts that I can't get out of my head. Maybe I should do my own little investigation. I have heard the folk tales about Lost Out Forest. There was a demon who lived there, who would come to a village and eat people. Maybe that monster was real. Maybe it came back when Stephen Hossington cut down that tree. Maybe that diary is cursed. I have to know more. I turned on my laptop and I started my research into evil spirits, curses, and I also tried looking up the people who were involved with the creation of Lost Out Trail. Before I knew it, it was 6 PM. Time flies when you're looking into black magic. I rubbed my eyes and shut off my laptop. I now had the information of 3 people who worked on Lost Out Trail. Peter Dinkliffe, head of Project Lost Out, Lucy Carmite, head of Nighttime Security, Melissa Cartwright, Tree Fella. I let out a heavy sigh and ordered some food. It was too late for me to cook. The next day I woke up, got dressed, and I set out to Dinkliffe Construction in hopes of meeting Peter Dinkliffe. I'm surprised he's still around considering he's in his 50s now. It's not too far from where I live, just a 20-minute drive. When I arrive, all I can think about is, what if he doesn't want to talk to me? With this defeatist mindset, the woman at the reception desk asked me if I'm okay. I asked to see Mr. Dinkliffe in regards to a case. I made up some big lie about how I'm a reporter who was interested in the mysterious case of Stephen Hossington. Without too long, I was in the office of Peter Dinkliffe himself. Wow, I wasn't actually expecting to get an audience with him. The first thing I do when he sits in front of me is come clean. I told him why I was really there. He seemed a bit shocked that Jeffrey had gone missing and that it's just as mysterious as Stephen's disappearance. Stephen was a good man. He loved having a laugh with his mates, whether it was on a work break or not. He was nearly always positive, and he was good at his job until Mr. Dinkliffe had trailed off. His words have sorrow to them. There was one day when he and his team felled a massive oak tree. He cast the final blow. After that day, he seemed so troubled. His mental health rapidly declined. He was hearing voices in his head, and he was so depressed all the time. He could hardly concentrate on anything. He got help though. When the project ended, he had disappeared, never to be seen again. I'm not a superstitious man by heart, but I swear that tree had to have been cursed. Of course, no one would believe me about that. Saying this, he seemed to scoff at the world, as if he had been saying this for a long time and no one would listen to him. I think I might believe you, I say to him with some semblance of confidence. I tell him everything, how I met Jeffrey and about that diary. Peter's eyes widened. I'm not sure if he was about to cry or if he was terrified. Perhaps a bit of both. We need to burn that diary. After that fiasco with Stephen, I was able to make sure no one else had their tree trophy. I was able to get rid of the ones I had already given out. But I thought that the diary went missing with Stephen. Obviously, I was wrong. I don't recommend going to anyone else involved with that project. They wouldn't believe me, so I doubt that they'd believe you. I agreed with what Peter was saying. It's not like me to get dragged into bizarre things, but I feel strongly about this for some reason. Mr. Dinkliffe, how are we going to do this? Of course, he has no idea. Well, what if I go to the station, ask to look over the diary, and then steal it? He disagrees. Well, if you do that, you'll get caught for sure. I bet that they won't see it as evidence anymore. Just ask them if you can take it home with you as a keepsake. With that being said, I agreed and said my farewell to Mr. Dincliffe. Time to get that diary, I think to myself. I get into my car and set my course for a police station in hopes of getting Jeffrey's diary back, so I can burn it. After a bit of driving, I got to a police station. Something feels wrong as soon as I get out of my car. With this bad feeling I have, I run into the station instead of walking like a normal person would. I feel sick and anxious, as if something dreadful has happened. I get to a reception and ask her about the diary. She pointed me in the direction of Detective Harold's partner, and the words that came out of their mouth made my stomach retch, my head spin, and my legs crumble. I'm sorry, he took it. He said that he felt like there was something in the book that was calling him to lead to the lake. I'm sure you can meet him there. He might be gone for a while, he said. My face goes pale. I need to sit down. Miss Sampson, are you okay? I can barely think. Why am I so afraid right now? I'm fine. I'll go meet him there and ask him about it. Thank you very much for your help. Just like that, I rush out of the station and hurry to my car. I need to get to the lake. Quickly, I drive as far to the trail as I can get and park. It's raining now. I don't have a coat or umbrella, but oh well. I'll live. I get out of the car and begin to run. Breathless and halfway to the lake, I force myself to keep running. The ground has turned into sludge under my feet. It's humid, like I'm in some sludge-filled rainforest. I keep running. Eventually, I reached the lake, but there was no one there. Detective Harold was nowhere to be seen. I look around, wait for a few minutes, and then I head home. I dry myself off, sit down, and call Mr. Dincliffe to let him know what's going on. So he wasn't there? I've got a bad feeling about this. He might have disappeared. The diary must be cursed. He sounds both scared and angry. I can't blame him. For 3 people to suddenly go missing who are connected to that tree in some capacity, it truly is terrifying. What do you think we should do? I ask in anticipation. I don't know. I don't think there is anything that we can do. We just have to hope that no one else finds that diary. The police are obviously going to hassle you after this, since you went to go find him when he went missing. Hang in there, Miss Sampson. One day your life will go back to normal. I can't help but to let out a small laugh at those words. I feel like normal no longer exists for me, and my life will never return to those days. Days passed. It was confirmed that Detective Harold had gone missing. Mr. Dincliffe was right. The police questioned me straight away. They realised I was innocent pretty quickly, but it felt relentless at the time. After this, the hours turned into days, the days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, a couple of months had passed by. There was no news on Detective Harold, or that cursed diary once belonging to both Stephen and Jeffrey Hossington. Unfortunately, this strange diary has made 3 people vanish, as far as we know. Both me and Mr. Dincliffe are keeping our eyes out on this case. I'm going to get into journalism, so I can keep a closer eye out for that damn diary. I'm also going to be looking further into that folk legend surrounding Lost Out, as well as black magic and occult tales, so I can find out more of how to find or stop that diary. I sincerely hope no one else encounters that wretched book.